The air was thick with humidity, a blanket of heat clinging to us as we ventured deeper into the heart of OP Schnabel Park. It was 3 a.m., the dead of night, and the only light came from the moon, casting long, eerie shadows from the trees. Clarissa, my girlfriend, held my hand tightly, her grip growing clammy with a fear that mirrored my own. The silence of the park was unnerving, broken only by the sound of our own footsteps on the gravel path. We were young, barely adults, caught up in the strange allure of the forbidden. OP Schnabel Park, with its dark history of murders and disappearances, had always held a morbid fascination for us. The COVID-19 pandemic had only amplified this fascination, driving us to seek solace in the deserted embrace of the night. As we walked, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, our every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. The hair on the back of my neck prickled with a primal fear, a warning that we were treading on dangerous ground. The deeper we went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, the air heavy with an unseen menace. We were alone, utterly alone, in a world that seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something terrible to unfold. A faint sound, barely audible at first, reached our ears, cutting through the oppressive silence. It was a haunting melody played on a flute, its notes weaving a tapestry of both beauty and terror. The music seemed to emanate from the very air itself, surrounding us, drawing us deeper into the park's dark embrace. Clarissa and I exchanged uneasy glances, our hearts pounding in unison with the rhythm of the flute. The music grew louder, closer, its ethereal notes sending shivers down our spines. The once inviting path now seemed treacherous, each step forward taking us further into the unknown. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through me. This was no ordinary music. It was a siren's call, beckoning us towards something sinister. I felt a primal urge to flee, to turn back and run towards the safety of the city lights, but my feet seemed rooted to the spot, frozen by a fear that was both paralyzing and exhilarating. We were trapped, caught in a web of our own morbid curiosity, and the music played on, its haunting melody echoing through the darkness. The music stopped abruptly, the silence deafening in its wake. We stood there, frozen, listening for any sign of the mysterious flutist. Then we heard it, a rustling sound coming from the undergrowth. Something large was moving towards us. Panic surged through me. I grabbed Clarissa's hand, pulling her along as I broke into a run. We didn't dare look back. The only sound was the pounding of our feet and the frantic beating of our hearts. As we ran, the flute music started again, closer, more insistent. It was as if whatever was chasing us was toying with us. We burst out of the trees and onto the main trail, the bright lights of the park entrance a beacon of hope. We didn't stop running until we reached our car. We scrambled inside, slamming the doors shut. As we sped away, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had narrowly escaped something truly evil. The fluorescent lights of the hospital hummed overhead, casting a sterile, almost eerie glow over the empty corridors. My shift had just started, another grueling overnight stint at the hospital pharmacy in northwest Alabama. I had been working back-to-back shifts, my body running on fumes and caffeine, my mind teetering on the precipice of exhaustion. The silence of the hospital at night was always unsettling, a stark contrast to the daytime bustle of doctors, nurses, and patients. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant clang of metal sent shivers down my spine. Tonight, the silence seemed heavier, more oppressive, as if the very walls were closing in on me. As I made my rounds, stocking the surgery rooms with medications, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. My senses were heightened. Every shadow seemed to writhe and contort. Every corner felt like a hiding place for something sinister. I tried to rationalize my fear, telling myself it was just the sleep deprivation playing tricks on my mind, but deep down, a primal instinct told me that something was amiss. The air itself felt charged, electric, as if an unseen storm was brewing within the sterile confines of the hospital. A sudden sound pierced the silence, jolting me from my thoughts. It was a door squealing open, followed by the heavy thud of wooden doors swinging shut. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest, and strained to listen. The sound had come from the end of the corridor, near the abandoned wing of the hospital. I cautiously made my way towards the noise, my hand hovering over the pepper spray I kept clipped to my belt. As I approached the abandoned wing, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. The air grew noticeably colder, and a faint metallic scent tickled my nostrils. I peered into one of the rooms, its bed empty, sheets stained and yellowed with age. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye. In the room across the hall, a patient's bed was shaking violently, the metal frame rattling against the floor. A figure lay on the bed, its body contorting, its muffled groans echoing through the room. I watched in horror as blood seeped through the sheets, staining them a deep crimson. I blinked and the vision was gone. The bed was empty, the sheets pristine, the room eerily silent. My mind reeled, struggling to reconcile what I had seen with reality. Had I imagined it? Was this the result of sleep deprivation and stress, or was there something truly sinister lurking in the shadows of the hospital? Weeks later, I was at home, trying to shake off the lingering unease from my hospital experience. It was late, well past midnight, and I was lying in bed, desperately trying to fall asleep. Just as I was drifting off, I was startled awake by the insistent ringing of the doorbell. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest, my mind racing. Who would be at my door at this hour? I crept to the window and peered cautiously outside. The street was deserted, illuminated only by the dim glow of the streetlights. I couldn't see anyone at the door, but the ringing continued, echoing through the silence. Then I heard it, a deep, raspy voice just outside my window. "Help me," the voice whispered, its tone desperate and pleading. "Please, I need help." Fear coiled in the pit of my stomach. I stumbled back from the window, my heart hammering against my ribs. Who was out there? What did they want? The doorbell rang again, this time more insistent, more frantic. I knew I had to do something, but my mind was frozen with fear. I fumbled for my phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking so badly that I could barely hold on to the device. 911, what's your emergency? The operator's voice crackled through the phone. "I think someone's outside my house," I whispered, my voice trembling. "They're ringing the doorbell and asking for help." "Can you describe the person outside?" the operator asked, her tone calm and professional. "I can't see them," I replied, my voice tight with panic, "but I can hear them. They're saying they need help." "Okay, sir, we're sending someone over now," the operator said. "Just stay on the line with me and try to remain calm." I stayed on the phone with the operator, describing the situation as best I could, my mind racing with possibilities. Was it just a prank, a desperate cry for help, or something more sinister? The minutes stretched on, each one an eternity as I waited for the police to arrive. The voice outside my window had gone silent, but I could still feel its presence, lurking in the darkness, watching me. Fear, cold and clammy, tightened its grip on my chest, making it difficult to breathe. I was trapped in my own home, a prisoner of my own terror. The wail of sirens pierced the night, breaking the tense silence. I rushed to the window, relief flooding through me as I saw the flashing lights of a police car pull up outside my house. 2 officers approached my door, their faces grim, their hands resting on their holsters. I flung open the door, eager to be rid of the fear that had taken root in my home. "Are you the one who called about a disturbance?" one of the officers asked, his voice gruff and skeptical. "Yes," I replied, my voice still shaky. There was someone outside my window asking for help. They kept ringing the doorbell. The officers exchanged glances, their expressions unreadable. One of them shone his flashlight around my yard, illuminating the bushes and trees, but finding nothing. "We didn't see anyone, sir," the officer said, turning back to me. "Are you sure you saw someone? Have you been drinking tonight?" "I'm sure I heard someone," I insisted, my frustration growing. "I'm not drunk, I'm just—" "Look, sir," the other officer interrupted, his tone condescending. "We've got more important things to do than respond to prank calls. Next time, how about you check to see if it's actually an emergency before you waste our time?" And with that, they turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, speechless and humiliated. The police officer's dismissive attitude did nothing to ease my fear. If anything, it amplified it. I was alone, left to deal with the residue of terror that clung to me like a shroud. The events of that night, coupled with my previous experiences at the park and the hospital, left an indelible mark on my psyche. I became a prisoner in my own home, too afraid to venture out alone at night, my sleep plagued by nightmares of haunting melodies, shadowy figures, and unanswered pleas for help. The world, Once a place of wonder and excitement, now seemed fraught with unseen dangers, lurking just beyond the veil of reality. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was out there, something malevolent and unseen, toying with me, watching me. The rational part of my mind told me I was being irrational, that my experiences were simply the result of stress, exhaustion, and an overactive imagination. But another part of me, a primal, instinctive part, whispered a different truth, that some things cannot be explained, some fears are best left unexplored, and some doors are best left unopened.